Welcome, dearest colleagues, to the Vision Straight Masterclass series. I'm Obi, all the way from South Africa, the motherland, and today we're out in the United Kingdom, specifically Ireland, with my good old friend Cian. How are you today?
Yeah, very good, Obi. Thanks very much for having me on. I'm looking forward to the chat.
No, the pleasure is all mine. The reason why we could not have a masterclass series without you is that you're one of those people that are redefining what it means to be an optometrist in a very high-paced environment. If you think of many optometrists that work in ophthalmology type of practices or environments, the perception is that they are just there to assist the ophthalmologists. But one thing that has stood out the most about you is that you have built your own brand, you have built your own value proposition, whereby you're not just assisting, but you have found a way to add significant value to the environment that you are working in. And so it was important for us to showcase to the eye care community globally what type of work or what type of approach is required for an optometrist in such a high-paced environment. But before we go on, who is Cian? Let the eye care industry know who you are.
Yeah, my name is Cian Gildea. I'm an optometrist based in Ireland, and I work in a practice called the Wellington Eye Clinic, which is a refractive surgery practice. It's cornea and refractive surgery. So we'd see a lot of keratoconus, do a lot of cross-linking, so cares, so corneal allogenic intrastromal ring segments, do a lot of LASIK, PRK, ICL. And then I work in the Royal Victoria Eye and Ear Hospital as well, and that's pure irregular cornea work, so medical contact lenses. So it's a nice, and that's a public hospital, so it's a nice split between private and public practice. Yeah, so that's me.
How did you end up working in such an environment? Have you ever worked in a private type of optometry setup, or was this something that you started doing from the onset?
Yeah, so this is something that I started doing from the onset. I came to optometry later, so I'd actually done a degree in property economics first, and I graduated in 2008, just around the property crash.
Wow.
So yeah, so I worked in a bank in foreign exchange for a year. Then I did tree surgery for the Electricity Supply Board in Ireland for a year as well, and then I went back and I studied optometry. And during my final placement, I got to spend 6 months at the University of Houston College of Optometry, and it was eye-opening to see their scope of practice. They were very big on medical lenses, sclera lenses. They had a lot of keratoconus there, and I was completely captivated by that and the difference you could make. And I kind of made up my mind, this is what I want to get into. This is the path that I want to follow. And, it was just about pursuing that. So the Wellington Eye Clinic has a very, very good name, in Ireland and across the world as well. And I suppose I made it my aim to try and get a position here. So I sent in my CV, and I was lucky enough that there was a position open, and yeah, I've been here ever since, and it's been amazing. It's a great place to work. But I think more than a lot more now, I think ophthalmologists are realizing the value that optometrists can bring to eye care.
Okay.
Before it was, I think it could have been ophthalmologists over here, then optometrists over here. But I think that gap is closing now, and places like the Wellington that have always kind of hired optometrists, they were at the forefront. The Mr. Cummings, the medical director here, he's always relied heavily on optometrists and realizes the skills and the value that they would add to the practice. So he's been incredibly supportive in kind of pushing that symbiosis, I suppose, of the two professions.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you. Obviously, the Wellington Eye Clinic has a reputable brand all over the world. Now, when you come in there, knowing the type of work that you are going to obviously be doing, what are some of the things that you practically did in establishing yourself within the environment where it was very clear this is where you want to be, but how did you then go about making a name for yourself within that type of environment? What are some of the things that you were doing that are very practical for the audience?
I think one of the biggest things for me that I had focused on was education. So I did the FIACLE exam and got the fellowship in that. Fellowship of the British Contact Lens Association. Any courses that were happening, or any other extra education that I could do, especially obviously with contact lenses, it's a lot of it is theory, but I suppose you need to be at the coal face. You need to do a lot of kind of hands-on workshops to really learn. So I would say a lot on education, being one of the things that gave me the confidence, I suppose, to go out and to pursue these things. I think a big factor as well is that the environment that I was in, would say, looking at Mr. Cummings and the Wellington itself, they're always at conferences. He was always writing papers, giving talks, etc. And I really looked up to that as a mentor, and that was something that I was going, wow, he's really at the top of his game, and it's something that I was like, oh, I'd love to try and emulate that. And you just have to put yourself out there. There's times when, earlier on you'd asked me to do a talk, and my gut instinct was to take the easy road and say, no, don't want to do it. But you just have to say yes.
Wow.
Say yes. Go out of your comfort zone, and I think it's more about kind of putting yourself out there and just saying yes to things that you're not necessarily comfortable with, and push the boundaries, I suppose.
Wow, that is so. It's a different take on it, because a lot of the times people are very salary orientated, as opposed to saying this environment is going to challenge me, it's inspiring me, it's going to push me beyond my comfort zones. And so I like the fact that you were saying that you looked at that as something that you can emulate from an ophthalmology point of view, and look at how can you apply it from an optometry point of view. When you started getting invited to speak at different events, contribute in whichever capacity to the eye care industry as a whole, how challenging was it for you though? Or what are some of the things that you then had to go and say, you know what, I'm not good at this, I have to learn to do this. I'm not good at that, I have to start doing this myself. What are some of the things that you had to start practically doing for yourself?
Number one is public speaking. I was shaking like a leaf the first time I gave the talk. But I suppose you do become more comfortable with it. But I'd still get nervous before any time. I'd have to get up and talk in front of people. So yeah, I mean, like I said, putting yourself out of your comfort zone. But I think as well, when you look at ophthalmology and you see there's a lot of big players and big names there, I think optometry is catching up there as well. If you look at the big conferences, like you look at, say, Tom Arnold and like Daddy Fidel, there's Ken Pullum, Brian Tompkins, there's people there that have huge profiles, and they're people that I would really, really look up to in the optometry community. And you can see what they're doing. I mean, you're not reinventing the wheel. You see people that you would admire, that you like their values and the way they go about things, and I suppose you try to emulate them and try to add something.
Wow, I like that. Now, obviously, then when we do that and say, you know what, here are examples, but you obviously don't want to be another Brian Tompkins or Danny Fidel. You still want to be you. And so how did you then how did you sort of like identify your value proposition then? Because it's a two-folded approach, I'm thinking, where one, you have to add value in the environment that you are in, but at the same time, you're building a brand globally, so that when people think of the kind of work that you do, you come to mind. So how did you find the balance between what your typical day looks like and looking at, okay, I want to build a name for myself. That might not be my focus of building a name for myself, but it is what it is. I find myself with these opportunities that are presented before me. So how did you then go about saying, this is how I'm going to distinguish myself in the eye care community different from what everyone else is doing?
It's kind of difficult in that I suppose the area of specialty that you would get into, for me, was contact lenses. It was my passion. I think your passion comes through if you're really passionate about a certain area of optometry and you spend an awful lot of time in it. I think you'll naturally start building maybe a reputation even within your own community or within your own country. Even locally, people realize, okay, wait a second, this, they've obviously put an awful lot of time into this. Then different opportunities, like I said, different opportunities will come up. Somebody might ask you to talk at an event or something like that, and then things start growing from there. And yeah, so it's, I think it's more about your own passion and your area of optometry that you're really passionate about, and I think that will come through, and I think that's how that's how a lot of these things grow initially.
I hear you. What does a typical day look like at the Wellington Eye Clinic, specifically for you?
Yeah, for me, so we would have, so the optometrists do all the refractive evaluation. So if someone's coming in for a LASIK assessment or a PRK assessment, they just see the optometrist. So we would do a full eye exam, dilated eye exam, review their corneal scans, etc., things like that. Then once we have an idea in our head what they would be suitable for, then we'd go and speak with the ophthalmologist, discuss things, and then we plan plan the next steps in terms of booking them in or getting them in for surgery. We'd have post-ops. So we had like say a 6-week post LASIK appointment. We'd have post cataract appointments, checking it all those types of patients. And then me specifically, 2 days out of the week, in the Wellington, I would have pure contact lens clinics. So I get referrals from all areas in Ireland, with keratoconus, pellucid marginal degeneration, any kind of irregular cornea. So it would be irregular cornea lens fittings. And then I would do myopia control as well. So I do a lot of orthokeratology as well, and soft lenses as well. So we don't sell any glasses here in the clinic. Like I said, well, obviously it's a refractive surgery clinic. We're trying to get rid of them. you know that. So yeah, so that's it. It's I think I'm happy. And then in the hospital, it's I do 1 day a week in the hospital, and it's pure contact lenses from start to finish. And wow. I think like me looking at my typical day, where I'm happiest is those contact lens clinics. I think it is important to have a little bit of variation. You don't want to get kind of too stuck doing the same thing over and over. So it's nice to have the refractive evaluations, looking at a different side of things. Refractive surgery is really, really high performance based. It's results driven, whereas on the other side of things with the contact lenses, a lot of those people are just thankful that you can restore some level of sight to them.
No, I got you. Can you still hear me?
Yeah. No,
I wanted to find.
Sorry, Ob, you've broken up there.
Oh, sorry. How do you build trust with, number one, the ophthalmologist, number two, patients, and number three, industry? Or do you see it as one big thing, or is it different in terms of your approach to building trust with the respective doctors, patients, and the industry? Because obviously, people trust you. So, was there something specific that you went about doing with regards to building trust?
I think just doing your absolute best for the patients. That's the primary concern, and once you build up a good rapport with your patients, then I think, listen, industry is hugely important. I mean, we couldn't do, let's say, our conferences, our meetings, all that stuff. You couldn't do it without the support of industry. So they're really important in the whole, I suppose, in the whole machine. And I would see optometrists as, or the ophthalmologist, but as a bridge between industry and the patients. And if you can be genuine in what you're delivering to the patients in terms of new technology or things like that, and you can genuinely say, listen, I think this is going to be the best piece of technology for you to better your eye health and your eye care, and you're not just, what will I say, you're not just concerned with the bottom line, I suppose. I think that's that makes a huge difference in people's perception of you. I think the morality or the integrity is very important. You're there at the end of the day. It's healthcare. Your primary focus should be on delivering the best healthcare to the patient. That would be, I suppose, that would be one of my core values, or something that I would always try to keep in my head. Do what's best for the patient.
Well, I love that, because that helps you stay focused. And I think that's such an important attribute for one to have, because that helps you stay focused. What would you say were key defining moments within your eye care journey since you have become an optometrist, where, had that not happened, you would not have the acceleration that you would have, or that you had in certain key areas of your journey?
For me, without a doubt, it was getting a position here in the Wellington Eye Clinic. I think my journey would have been completely different. Say I hadn't got the position, I probably would have gone into a high street practice. If I'd gone into high street practice, the chances of me seeing the type of patients that I was interested in, as in the keratoconics, etc., and things like that, and then whatever I'd learned at the University of Houston would have gone out the window. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to pursue it as much as I have had. So I would say, for me, the defining moment was getting the position in the Wellington. And I mean, the Wellington, it's such a nice place to work, an amazing team here, from management, all the way through the clinic. We all get on really, really well. The administration staff, the technicians, the optometrists, the managers, the ophthalmologists. It's all it's just a really nice environment to work in. I think it's an environment that would motivate you to do as best as you can. So yeah, the environment, I think, makes a big difference. And also your own personal interest. I mean, if you, I suppose, coming back to the passion, if you're passionate about something, if you want to keep your job interesting for you, especially, you're going to be in this career for 40 years, or who knows, with life expectancy, we could be retiring when we're 80. It's like, on a personal level, you want to be working in a job that you're interested in, and it just makes things so much easier. So if you kind of throw yourself into something, try to get involved as much as you can, it helps. And say speaking at events or going to conferences and things like that. That's an area outside, or another interest outside the testing room. So optometry, I think, is a lot more than just being in a testing room. You can make it as interesting as you want, but it's just about kind of having to like I said, putting yourself out there, getting out of your comfort zone, saying yes to things that you might not necessarily say yes to, and just kind of try to make it your own.
Wow, I love that. How big is the team? Because
there's 30 people altogether.
And with you guys are constantly evolving, and adapting to make sure that you are relevant, staying at the top of your game. So the question that I have for you is, how often does the team come together in redefining the vision, the objectives, the strategies, putting the structures in place? How often does the leadership team come together in making sure that everyone is still moving in the same direction when it comes to the value that you're adding as the Wellington Eye Clinic?
So I know the management would meet on a weekly basis. We would have optometry meetings on a 2-weekly basis. The technician team would have a meeting on a 2-weekly basis, same with the administration team. Then we would have a monthly team meeting, everybody in the clinic. So it's we're constantly in touch with each other, and it's a very open platform. So if you had a suggestion, so we would talk about, these are the challenges that are presenting or coming to the clinic. We've noticed this is happening, or this is happening, or say COVID was a prime example. That's one of the biggest overhauls that we've had to experience, for everybody.
Yeah.
It was just amazing to see how the whole team had different inputs. So this is the way we should do the process, or this is how we'll start seeing people. We started doing virtual calls to assess patients, get a little bit about their background, do all the kind of stuff that we would usually do in the clinic, do a lot of it beforehand. Then you're minimizing the time with the optometrist and the ophthalmologist, given COVID and those risks. But it just completely changed our process, and just everybody from the team had some sort of input into that change. So it just shows it's not down to individuals, I don't think, at all. I think the team and the support that's there is hugely important as well.
Has there ever been a time where you felt out of place?
Yeah.
Where you felt like, wow, I can't handle being in such an environment, or where you dropped the ball, or where you felt like...
the first day I walked into the Wellington, I was, Jesus, how did I manage to get this job? And I was just so say for instance, I helped Daddy Fidel with the Euroschool project for Ireland, and she reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, would you be interested in doing in helping in the project? And straight away I was like, how I think she's confusing me with somebody else here. There's no way. I wanted to jump behind the couch and hide. I didn't want to do it. I was like, oh God, I got so nervous, I suppose. And I was it was a huge learning experience. Number one, I was so thankful to Daddy for even considering me. It was it was amazing. I suppose you get that imposter syndrome as well, going, what, can I actually add anything here? But Daddy was really, really supportive, and it was the first workshop was done over COVID. It was held in February, and there was 2 winter storms in the 1 week before we were supposed to have the have the event, and all the equipment was on it being shipped over from the Netherlands and Germany, and it almost didn't arrive.
Wow.
So it was, yeah, so it was the morning of, so hugely stressful times, but huge learning experience as well. So yeah, there's been a lot of times where I've felt completely out of my depth. I wholeheartedly believe that that's going to continue as well. There'll be situations, but I think when you come out the other side, you've definitely grown, and it'll stand to you in the future.
Wow. As we're bringing this to a close, I wanted to ask you the following specific questions. Number one, what advice would you give to someone who's extremely passionate about optometry? They know that this is the industry that they're supposed to be in, and they sort of like are very, very passionate, but not necessarily enjoying their work.
Okay, so that can be tough. It might be down to their work environment, I would say. So if you're very passionate about work, and your passion is there, I would say maybe look at the environment that you're in, and possibly looking at changing the environment that you're in. I would try to identify what area of optometry makes you the happiest. When you look at your typical day, what do you like to do? What part of it kind of gives you the fire in the belly and gets you really excited, and make changes to try and pursue those things. But if someone's really passionate and unhappy, I think maybe environment would probably be the first thing I'd look at.
Someone who is thinking about joining an ophthalmology clinic, what are the benefits? What are the disadvantages?
The benefits are, I think you just learn so much. You definitely get to see things that you wouldn't usually see in typical practice. So it really keeps you interested. The disadvantage, I would say, you realize how much you don't know, but that's a good thing, because then it drives you to learn and keep on learning. And any weird thing that you see, that you come across, you have a consultant ophthalmologist there that you can discuss, and you can learn an awful lot from.
Wow. Cian, thank you so much for just your time.
The pleasure has been mine. It's been really nice to talk to you. So just, thank you so much.
No, thank you so much. What's next for you? What does the future look like for you in the next year?
The future, just keep plugging away with specialist lenses. Just keep on trying to improve my skills there. I think that's definitely my main passion. So just trying to get better, see more and more complex cases, and just keep on, try to get the very top, keep pushing boundaries, and that would be the most important thing, I suppose, for me.
Wow, man, thank you very much. Continue doing the wonderful work that is so inspiring, so motivating, and so encouraging for people in different countries who are looking themselves. I need to operate at the next level, and so thank you for that. And until we meet, hopefully we get to meet each other in person very soon.
I'm gonna have to arrange a visit over to SA.
Absolutely. Everyone, thank you very much for joining in the masterclass series. Make sure that you connect with us on the different social media platforms. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and stay tuned for more episodes of season 2 of the masterclass series. Until the next episode, stay tuned, everyone.